Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
Okay. Is this thing on?
Because you're going to say,
Can you hear me?
And we're rolling.
Can you hear me? No, it's...
I mean, I
And
can
we're
hear you
live.
because I'm sitting right next to you. I don't know
Okay.
if the mic is working or
Go ahead.
not.
It's working. Let's go.
Okay, great.
Let's roll.
I just want everyone to know that you should believe in your dreams because I just had a dream that my coworker told me to buy a lottery ticket, and I just went and bought a lottery ticket at Publix, and I won $100.
Yeah. But not only that, like you were just telling me, it was very specific, the
It was.
dream about what you were which you were supposed to buy.
Which card I was supposed to buy and everything, yeah.
Go explain that. You don't have to go into too much detail, but basically...
In the dream, it was the second row, the third card down, which is what I bought, and I won $100.
Yep. And you only had to spend like $200 on tickets, which is really
anyway,
cool.
I think
No,
that's
only-
the first lottery ticket that I've bought myself.
Yeah. You only bought one ticket. Well, I actually bought two, but...
Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
The right one. Okay,
So
go.
today, I thought that we would talk about, and before I say what we're talking about, I want to make it extremely clear that this is not about specific politicians or specific political ideologies. I want to make that extremely clear.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So today's topic is the two-party system in America.
Yes. No, that's okay. It's
and
not that great.
why?
Go ahead. I mean the topic, I'm saying.
You don't get to say that.
Go
You no.
Go ahead.
You literally whenever this is airing, this will be a few episodes prior to this one.
Uh-huh.
That your episode was about baths versus showers, okay? So
Okay.
you don't get to, when I say let's talk about something that
Okay.
actually matters and
All right.
affects every...
Okay. Let's go.
I have never told you that your topic's dumb.
I didn't say
Actually,
your topic. No, I didn't say your topic is dumb.
That's
I'm
what
not
you
saying
just
it's dumb at
said.
all. No.
You said
No.
it's not a good topic.
I didn't say that either. No,
What did
I
you
was
just
saying
say?
I was saying how exciting it is for me. You know what I mean? Like there are
All
certain
right.
specific things that are like I'm more excited to
Back
talk
to
about.
me. So
Go ahead.
the two-party system in America is flawed for many reasons. I see very few positives, if any, with the two-party system.
Okay.
And I want to start because I do have some specific things that I want to mention here.
Yep.
The first being that George Washington, our first president, as I mentioned him in a prior podcast,
Mhm.
obviously he was not a perfect person or a
Mhm.
perfect leader. I'm not saying that at all.
He was pretty good though.
But I feel like he made a lot of really valid points.
Yep.
And my understanding is one of the things that he told everyone at the time that he was stepping down and setting the precedent that he wasn't going to be like a lifetime ruler and all that.
Yep.
One of the things that he said specifically was, you guys are doing great. As long as we don't have a two-party system, this country is going to flourish.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, okay. And then they just didn't do it.
So can I ask you a question?
Okay.
So because I don't know this off the top of my head, when did the two-party system come to be? Like when did people, I guess politicians, start to move into factions where it's us against them? When did that?
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like it kind of always was. If I'm using the knowledge that I have, because I don't really remember like
Mhm.
growing up learning American government and history and all that stuff, I don't have a good memory of that. But what I do know very well is Hamilton, the musical.
Okay.
And in that, why are
This
you
is-
making a face?
This is what we have come to.
It's very educational, okay?
Go ahead.
But you think about how, which this is another point I wanted to make actually, when Thomas Jefferson and who was he up against? Aaron Burr? Was that? Oh,
Was
gosh.
Aaron Burr against Thomas Jefferson?
That doesn't sound right. No, that is it. Because in the song, he talks about Aaron Burr loses to Thomas Jefferson. And then he's like, I'm so excited to work with you. Because at that time, at least, the loser became the vice president.
Right.
Which, that is another point I wanted to make. Because I think that's a fabulous idea.
Right.
I think that is a wonderful idea, and that we should do that. But so my point is, because your question was, when was the quote unquote two-party system established? I feel like since the beginning, it's kind of always been there. You had those two, and then
but for George Washington to say that would imply, which by the way, I do see myself as a modern day George Washington. In addition,
for those of you who couldn't see my
to
expression,
a modern day
Benjamin Franklin.
Now,
those of you who couldn't see my expression, I was looking off into the camera, the
You're
imaginary
rolling your
camera,
eyes.
like at the office.
Yeah, I'm
in the
here's
office.
here's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. I'm imagining just for a moment, like Kamala Harris, and
Absolutely not.
Donald Trump.
Okay.
And Donald Trump, and I'm imagining, like, say, Donald Trump just becoming the vice president. Like, he loses and becomes the vice president. I can't see that.
But this is exactly the issue. You can't see that happening,
Right.
because we are so far removed from like what the ideals that, let's just stick with George Washington. I won't even say the country in general. I'll just stick with him, since that was clearly like his point clearly was, don't do this. If we had listened to him and even just stuck with you have the winner and the loser, and the loser's the vice president, that's more unifying than what we have now.
Right.
And obviously we haven't had that for a while, which is why it seems so weird to us.
You know the weird thing though? Like, and I'm thinking, like, obviously I have a little bit longer term perspective than you do, right?
Because you're old.
Like, yes, because I'm very aged.
You're seasoned.
I'm aged, yes. No, like, obviously right now with the current political environment, that seems like just unfathomable, right?
Which is exactly why we need it.
But I feel like going back even to the 90s, I could have imagined that.
Yeah.
Somewhere between, I mean, even with George Bush, you had that really contentious election, right, between George Bush and Al Gore, right? I still could have seen it, just because of the fact that, it came down to Florida and the hanging chads and all that kind of stuff, okay? So even after that, I could have imagined that happening, right? Probably, I think, it would be easy to say that Donald Trump is where this kind of all started. And granted,
I don't think that's the case.
It's much worse, but I think it goes back to, I don't think the blame is on any one person. Let me start with that. I think,
go ahead.
I think it would have been by the end of the Obama administration, I would say, in my mind.
I disagree.
I'm giving you my perspective. I think when he was first elected, because who did he actually, he ran against, what's his name? I can see him. Come on.
Obama did?
Obama beat
Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney, okay? Well, first of all, Mitt Romney is not, I hate to say he's not a conservative Republican, but he's not like a hardcore far-right Republican by any stretch of the imagination, right? So if it came down to when he lost, him becoming the vice president, that could have happened. I could have seen that happening for sure.
Yeah.
Probably after the election in 2012, I think it would have been a lot, I don't know, it would have been more of a stretch. Or was it 2012 when he... 2008, 2012, whatever. At this point, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
My point here, though, is, it seems weird. And like you're saying, you could see, at least in that situation, those two maybe as it being a possibility. But if that's the way it always was, none of this would seem weird at all.
Yeah.
It would be, well, this is what it is.
Right.
And I feel like part of the issue, I mean, you could argue it's from the beginning, because like I said, Thomas Jefferson, according to Hamilton, the musical, Thomas Jefferson was the one that rejected the partnership. If all of that is true, when Aaron Burr lost, and, the thing at the time was to be the vice president, and Thomas Jefferson said, nah, I don't want you. you could say it started there by him rejecting the other side and like that's whatever like set.
I have to watch Hamilton again and pay more attention.
See,
so that
I think this is the problem because you think that I watch stuff like this
Mhm.
just because I like the music
Mhm.
and I like the melody and the harmonies. Obviously, I like all that stuff, but I like it because Hamilton specifically is teaching you something very useful that a lot of people do not know anything about.
Right.
But it teaches you in a way that it makes you care about it and it
Right.
makes you like listen to the lyrics.
The only
And it's
issue,
interesting.
the only thing that the only thought that I would have is, and this goes for anything, it's not Hamilton, not the musical, not specific to that. But like, I feel like, I've thought this for a long time. History is rewritten over and over and over again, right? And I feel like,
History is written by the victors.
well, you could say, I mean, I don't know if I
true.
completely agree with that. Yeah, but the
Yeah, no,
victors
that's
change.
true.
The victors change.
And the history changes along with it.
Which the point, that's my point. So to really get a true accounting of history, you have to try to go back to the earliest sources from people that were there at the time.
This isn't even about this.
I know. You're right. You're right.
But I want to respond to your previous thing, which is you saying that you see this division. You saw this division after the Obama administration. That's what you said.
No, kind of like during it. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying it was anywhere near where it is after with the way that Trump is. I'm not. It's not that
so
level.
What I remember, and obviously at this point with where we are with these two candidates, and I don't know if this episode is going to air before the election or after the election.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be around the election when this airs.
Just make sure it's before.
No, I was going to say it'll probably be. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It'll be before. Now you made me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Why are you like this? Why are
Should
you
we just
the way
pause
that
the
you
whole
are?
thing?
No. Okay. Well, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Come back here. Okay.
Oh no, I was just going to say at this point, these two candidates and like the two parties are just so. This isn't about political parties, so I'm just going to stop here and maybe we can have a separate episode about that because this is just about the two-party system and why the two-party system makes. And it's clear today that you can see the two-party system makes people go to sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Being in the middle does very little. In our current system,
it's frowned upon.
The way it's set up, it's frowned upon, but it's also like you don't actually have a voice. In a lot of states, if you're registered as an independent or even something else, a libertarian, your Green Party, whatever it is, you can't vote in the Republican or the Democratic primaries.
No, you can vote in the primary for the Green Party or for the Libertarian Party,
saying.
But it's almost like, I hate to say why bother, but
that's how a lot of people feel right now,
right.
And that's the issue because that's why a lot of people don't wind up voting because it's like especially in this election, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris,
right? And
so my option is to. Because at this point, I mean, RFK Jr.'s out, not saying that I would have voted for him anyway. I don't know. I don't have enough information on him. But so my option at this point is to write in someone else.
Right.
And the odds of that person winning are whoever that would be are pretty much zero.
Well,
and go ahead. What?
No, I was going to say, I was going to make a counterpoint.
I still didn't actually make my main point, but to respond to what you said. But no, you respond to that first, and then I'll back up.
No, quick counterpoint. Just with the overall two-party system. Like you said, okay, if you are Green Party, you can't vote in the Republican or Democratic primaries.
Not in some states.
Well, that's true if they have the open primaries. But the point is, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, but the parties change. Okay, so even though there's two parties, the Republican Party is much different than the Republican Party of even 10 years ago, right?
Yes, it is.
And the Democratic Party is much different than the Democratic Party of 20, 30, 40 years ago.
My point with that is it's different. And this is my opinion, obviously not having been alive for more than 30 years,
right?
Is that they are different in that they've moved farther to the edges. I don't see either party making any attempt to come to the center. I think with the 2020 election, the big thing that Joe Biden was like, I'm going to be in the middle. And I think that's why a lot of people voted for him
Right.
and why he
Yep.
won, because he was
Absolutely.
like, I'm going to be the bridge between these two parties right now. Obviously,
Right.
he was running Democrat and he had more democratic values,
Right.
but that was like his big thing. And then I think Republicans got really frustrated over the past 4 years because they feel like he lied and he just said that and he didn't actually
Right.
do. I'm not saying this is my opinion. I'm just saying this is the general consensus I feel, whatever. But so I think that's the issue, is we're so far, and why the two-party system is awful,
Right.
because it has created such a huge divide. Because if you're not in one of these two camps, your opinion just like doesn't matter.
The only thing I'll say is, like you said, both parties went more to the extreme.
Right.
That's true to a certain extent, but Donald Trump, like for example, right? He pushes tariffs, right? That's not a traditional Republican stand, right?
no.
Republicans are normally, like when you go back to and it's literally right before Trump. But when you go back to even farther back, it's all free trade. It's like almost completely against
yeah.
tariffs, right? Tariffs, right? So
I get that. I'm just saying more so in like the, not in the specific policies, because obviously attitudes toward policies and stuff change over time. I'm talking in the sense of like,
right.
I'm just thinking about specific followers of these people right now.
Right.
People that are voting for Donald Trump are like hard, or that are excited to vote for Donald Trump are hardcore, like MAGA Republicans, quote unquote, right?
Right.
People that are excited to vote for Kamala are like extremely liberal.
I mean, what I've seen so far is, I think,
and then there are people that are voting for either of them because they're like, well, this is the lesser of two evils.
well, that's what
and then there are people,
I feel like they're more voting against the other person.
well,
than
that's what I'm
voting
saying,
for,
but that's still demonstrating the same
Right.
same belief. But I
Right.
think, so to go back to from like 10 minutes ago, your previous statement, in my opinion, from my life experience, I remember during, what was this? When was John Kerry and Bush? When was that?
Wait, John Kerry?
Yeah, when they were, who was he up against?
You lost me.
George W. Bush and John Kerry.
I don't remember.
That
when
was
he
an election.
running.
What are you talking about?
Was that George Bush Sr., like George
No.
H. Bush?
No, that was George W. Bush and John Kerry. How do you not remember this? John Kerry in the presidential race.
No,
I'm
I
yelling.
understand. I understand what you're saying.
You don't remember? Okay, so
he was the Democratic nominee. You're saying he was.
I mean, I was a child at this time, so maybe I'm misremembering. But what I'm this is my whole point in saying this. I don't think either political party has caused the issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason we've gone so far to both sides so quickly is because of the like the what's the right word? Like how rapidly the dissemination of information has gotten with the internet.
Yeah.
Because my point here is, I remember, maybe he wasn't the presidential nominee, but that's how I remember this. Because,
maybe it was. I'm trying to. It would have been 2004 if he was.
2004.
But anyway.
Yes, that sounds correct. Because there was that website. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember the months or whatever leading up to the election, they had videos where they're like funny videos against the other candidate. How do you not remember this?
Okay.
I'm not making this up.
I'm sure if I saw them, I'd probably be like, oh yeah.
I don't remember what the
that.
website was called. I can't tell you one specific video, but I remember whatever the videos were, they were like animated, but then they pasted like their faces on characters.
You mean the ones where they could do cards? You could create cards.
I don't know what that means.
Like creating cards, and you could put your face or whatever, and it would do your
maybe something like that.
What was that called?
But
anyway.
My point is, that's my first like memory of political parties, quote unquote. I don't want to say attacking each other because I feel like they've always done that. But with the internet, and with the internet, you have such like a wider base of people. And so it's so easy, and we don't have to go off on this whole tangent here, but it's so easy to fall into like little holes on the internet where, you know, you're in a little what's it
In a
called?
bubble,
Echo
in a
chamber.
bubble,
Yes.
echo chamber,
Where it's
yeah.
just people agreeing
Yep.
with what you say, and you only listen to and so I think a big part of the reason we're where we're at today is because of the internet. And because people have access to all this stuff that they didn't before. Before it was like you got your information. Am I yelling? Before it was like you got your information from, I'm talking about however many years ago, the newspaper or even just the news,
TV
like on
news.
TV.
Yeah.
And you had to make a decision based on this stuff, and you didn't know.
Well, but here's the thing, right? So now
Yes.
you get your information from a million different sources. And people have a tendency to gravitate towards things they agree with. Right?
Exactly, which is a
problem. But was it a problem before? Not that, but was there a problem before and we just didn't realize it? Because
I'm sure.
Let's say if all the news sources, or if 90% of the news sources all had the same point of view.
Yeah.
Right? And they just were, so now everyone in society kind of hears the same thing, and everyone believes it because they, for the most part, have no reason not to believe it.
Right.
If there was dissenting opinions, you would rarely hear them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's my point with all of this. And I also, because you were just mentioning the news media, I want to make it clear, not that it matters necessarily, but just for argument's sake, I am an independent. I am neither. I'm registered as an independent.
Right.
I listen to and read news from all sides of the spectrum to make sure that I'm actually, to your point, actually getting all of the information available, I guess you could say, or at least the way that I see it. There's a ton of stuff that I read that I agree with and listen to that I agree with, a ton of stuff that I disagree with, but I listen to all of it and I read all of it so that I'm a better informed individual in this country. Right. And this isn't what I was going to say, but quick shout out to our, 5 followers, because we have more followers than Uncle Brian now, which is super nice.
Well,
we have.
Uncle Brian doesn't have a podcast.
I said, no, you know what I mean? People that listen to this podcast.
Now I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I understand.
So obviously we're grateful for all 5 of you. This is super exciting now.
Yes. We have to talk about some of the awards that we've won.
We haven't won any awards, but so you only get awards when you get like 8 followers.
Okay.
But so there's, and I've told you about this a lot, an email that I get every day. It's from Tangle is what the organization is called. Tangle. And they have a podcast too. So you can listen to the podcast. They have a YouTube channel. It's Tangle, Tangle. And I love them because with major topics, you get, well, if you're a subscriber, you get an email every day of the week. But if you're not, you get Monday through, Friday, we'll say. And they just pick a topic and they do a deep dive on it. So they'll give you the first, the outline of what is actually happening with this. And then we're going to see what each side of the political spectrum is saying. So they'll pull sources from, very blatantly left-leaning news media, very blatantly right-leaning news media,
right,
and give you each take on that point, which they're usually completely opposite. And then he'll give you his take, which is, I always think is interesting to see his take. And then he does a poll to see how people feel about it or whatever. But I like it because it's so... It is truly unbiased, in my opinion, which is how it should be. That is good journalism. And I've told you, we talked... there's so much I have to say about this subject apparently, but really quick, because we talked about how, I don't even remember which class this was, but at Villanova, one of my communications classes, I remember the teacher was so clearly a Democrat, because this was during the 2016 election. All he talked about, just blatantly the entire time, was about how Hillary should win the election. And I just thought that was insane, that on a college campus where you are supposed to be having, in my opinion, a proliferation of ideas and different viewpoints and having open conversations, he literally was he didn't use the word idiot, but he would say to everyone, you guys are all stupid if you're voting for Donald Trump. You're dumb. Right. What are you doing? And that's insane to me.
Yeah,
and then
he shouldn't do that.
And then I had another professor, my economics professor, my first one at Villanova, that the whole year, I couldn't tell who he was voting for. And I loved him. And he was a great teacher. He was probably my favorite teacher at Villanova. Right, and I think that's how it should be. Because you shouldn't...
Well, here's the thing: if at some point one of the professors chooses to let you know how they're voting, they shouldn't say it like that. Right?
No.
They should at least make it like they're being, I hate to say open-minded because it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not open-minded, but
Yeah.
put it this way, their primary goal where their students are concerned should be teaching them to arrive at decisions
to
for
think.
themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and how to
Not
do
what to
research
think,
and
how to think.
Exactly. It's funny though. You're saying, you're obviously really into this and all,
Yeah.
and it's good because you're talking more. Because other ones,
I
like
know,
I feel like I
sorry.
listen to. No, I feel like I do all the talking, and it shouldn't be like that.
I love finding out that I'm passionate about things that I didn't realize.
Well, it's funny because, well, now, first of all, I'll just lay this out, right?
Yeah.
So in 2020, I had voted for Trump in 2016, okay? I was very close to voting for Biden in 2020, like really close because of certain things that happened. And I just kind of was, like a lot of people, I was fed up with Trump.
Yeah.
At the very end, I can't remember specifically why I decided to vote for Trump. After, oh God, maybe just a few months, I can't remember how much time, I would have been literally so mad at myself if I voted for Biden because because I felt like it, there wasn't any genuine effort to bring the country together, to bring the two parties together.
Yeah.
There was still like the same kind of name calling. Now, not the kind of not the kind of fifth grade middle school name calling from Donald Trump,
bullying.
but it was still right, which I hate that, right? But it was still constant, like even now when they talk about MAGA extremists and stuff like that, okay? Like that's not, how about talk about the issues, right? Instead of put people in boxes and stuff. I hate that.
I would so much prefer if during a debate, which apparently there's not going to be another one now, which is insane. I think someone had said the other day on one of the things I was listening to that for every presidential election cycle, once you have your two candidates with our stupid two-party system, they should be required to have at least 3 debates. Why do they get to choose when and if they do debates?
Right.
You're working for us.
You should be to inform people, and they should be. Well, interesting fact. Actually, I want to go back to this quickly.
What?
When you said about something about the media and what were we talking about? Which side of the spectrum they fall?
Yeah.
It was interesting because literally just yesterday, as I was looking at some stuff, I did a search. Now, granted, it was AI I asked, so you never know how accurate that's going to be. But I think it was. I asked it to tell me which side of the political spectrum these different news sources fall on, and I didn't specify the news sources initially. I just said different major news media sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so anyway, the thing that I thought was funny is ABC, NBC, and CBS, all of them it classified as lean left, right?
Sure.
So they had like hard left, hard right. Like Fox was obviously, hard right.
Really quickly, I want to make a point about that, which is, and I think a lot of people maybe don't know this. I learned this in my first journalism class, which is, and I know I've told you this before, that Fox News is, what's their thing? Oh, fair and balanced. Like that was their slogan.
Yeah.
And I remember people, like, when I was in school and stuff, people being like, that's insane. They're very clearly Republican, like, leaning or conservative leaning. Oh. And in my first journalism class, our teacher taught us during the one lesson that when Fox News was created, that was their slogan because at the time, they felt like all there was left-leaning. And so they felt by inserting themselves into the conversation, they were then creating a fair and balanced media. They don't mean that they are fair and balanced. They mean that their inclusion in the media makes it fair and balanced. The funny thing,
CNN and Fox used to have, show like Crossfire was the show on CNN, and they would have someone on the left. I don't remember the names of the two guys, but someone on the left, someone on the right. They had the same thing on Fox because Sean Hannity was the one on the right, and I can't think of it. But I guess my point is, they legit used to have where you would be able to hear both sides. Now, if it's CNN, you have 4 people on the left and one on the right, and the opposite on Fox.
What was your point about the news media?
No, just just really quickly with the whole debate idea. That's one of the issues is you have to have where the moderators legit moderate. They should not, first of all, I don't think on either side, I don't think it's right for moderators to fact check during the debate.
All right.
A debate is not for them to debate the two
I know.
political opponents.
I think part of the problem here, though, is we're getting too much into politics
I
and
agree.
not the actual
I
thing.
agree.
So I want to pull us back really quickly so that this doesn't have to be 2 episodes. And one of the solutions, I think, to getting rid of the two-party system is to implement more ranked choice voting. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't thought that much about it. Like I understand.
I see no flaws with it.
No, I understand how it works. It would be
then
better.
The candidate that actually people
it would be better.
want.
It would be better than what we have now. What
Yes.
I don't like now is you have certain areas that, and I'm saying geographically, right, that are very strongly say Republican or Democrat,
Mhm.
right, and so you only get, like, around big cities for the most part, right,
Mhm.
in the city. You'll get, it's 90% Democrat, right? So you get only the one perspective. And you have the same thing in rural areas a lot towards the center of the country. So it would obviously be much better if you made sure you had more diversity in that group, a diversity of belief, not diversity of anything else.
Because I just feel like you take this election specifically, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased to the things that I'm seeing. There's no person that I know that personally or obviously on like the extreme media, you can see they really want Trump or they really want Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody I know that wants to vote for either of these people. If there were a viable third candidate and we had a ranked choice voting system, I think this is the election that third candidate would win, because nobody that I know wants to vote. They want to vote for the lesser of two evils, like we talked about. They don't want to vote for either of these people.
Right.
But like they don't have a choice because this is the two-party system.
Here's the funny thing, though. Think about this. And here's the weird thing. Donald Trump, I'm not saying, everyone should vote for Donald Trump because of this. But Donald Trump was that really unusual candidate.
I'm probably going to cut this out.
No, I'm saying he wasn't he was not in politics, right?
No, I understand that.
Like in the 90s, Ross
This isn't
Perot,
a political podcast right now.
No,
we need to stop here. This is going to be too long, and it's going to have to be 2 episodes.
This is just related to the two-party system.
Right.
My point is, he ran and was elected as the Republican nominee, or chosen as elected, I guess, as a Republican nominee. Nominated. Well, he was, I'm saying he's the Republican nominee. Yet he was not a political person, right? He wasn't, he didn't start, it's not like he was in politics for X number of years or whatever, right?
Yes.
So some people would say, well, that solves the problem. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, there you go. No, I'm not saying that.
Alrighty.
I'm just saying somebody could make that argument. That's my only point.
And scene. We should have a ranked choice voting system. That's
okay. Maybe that's the answer.
I think it is. And that's the end of this podcast. Have a great day, everyone.
Goodbye. Leave comments.
Oh yeah, leave comments. We also have YouTube now.
Yeah.
That it's literally just the podcast on YouTube. So if you wanted a good place where you could leave comments, that's
and what should
a good place.
What do they need to search for to find us on YouTube?
Existential Crises Podcast.
I think that's right. I think pod existential.
Or just pod.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same cover photo.
Crises, not crisis.
Just to make it clear, because we are having many crises.
Yeah, it's just an ongoing. Okay.
If it were one, that would be doable. But it's the crises that I don't know what I'm saying.
All right, just keep talking.
Do we have chips?
Oh, no, I have to stop.
I'm kind of hungry. That's what I said.
Go ahead. Speak.
I hate when you do that. When you take something that I say and then you make it like it was your idea.
Let's do a test.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 10 rule commandments.
What is that from?
The people can tell us in the comments.
Okay, I'm going to stop.
All right, goodbye.
Wow, this doesn't, it's not right.